Because I'm a huge fan of the series, here's my review of Heroes of Might and Magic 6.
It all went wrong the day our father, the Duke of Gryphin, died. Irina was sold to a cruel lord, Sandor, forced into exile, and Kirill lost his soul. Father's death was not an accident. Anastasia, our beloved sister, stabbed him in the heart. I am the Duke now. And I am alone.
So as it stands, the Heroes of Might and Magic series is a wonderful turn-based strategy series of games. If anyone played the old Might and Magic games too, it had a lot of RPG to it. Some great games came out that were very revolutionary for their time and for their age. I'm sticking with just the Heroes games for this review though. Heroes of Might and Magic 6 tells the tale of the Gryphin Duchy and the Gryphin family. They're part of the Falcon Empire right now. It's really convoluted and confusing when you try to explain exactly what's going on with the Emperorship and everything. It hurts your brain to think about. But long story short, this is the Gryphin Empire before it's the Gryphin Empire. It's 400 years before the last Heroes of Might and Magic game. Now, the Heroes of Might and Magic game series, it's known for its level of detail, its intoxicating depth. And unfortunately, one thing that this game lacks is that depth. You don't have as many tiers to your cities, you don't have as many unit types. I believe it's 1 or 2 less unit types than the previous game, Heroes of Might and Magic 5. It's missing a lot, in my opinion, but I'm going to go into that in the full review here in a few minutes. Your different campaigns in this game, your different single-player campaigns, follow the different members of the Gryphin family that have split off to do their own thing because of extreme circumstances. One's gone off with orcs, one's gone off and become a necromancer, one is leading the Gryphin family right now, and one has gone off with druids of all things. It's all these different family lines telling different stories of the single family fighting their own personal battles. Beyond all else, the story, it really doesn't have a lot of depth to it. And when it does have depth, it's convoluted, confusing, and very difficult to follow. As you can see on the screen right now, the actual storytelling elements are piss poor. Cinematics are poorly placed and used too rarely. They needed to use them more often to tell stories. They tried to use basic game mechanics to fill in the big gaps, which just doesn't work for a turn-based strategy game. It's simply clicking the next turn button most of the time, which is boring. It's boring. It's fucking boring. It's really boring. The actual story elements themselves are very poorly done. The voice acting is atrocious. It's really bad. It's incredibly bad. The graphics, the actual graphics themselves, worse than Final Fantasy, not Final Fantasy, but Heroes of Might and Magic 5. Worse than Heroes 5, which is saying a lot, because Heroes 5 had some really great graphical elements to it. It had a lot of cinematics, a lot of in-game cinematics, it had a lot of pre-rendered cinematics. You expect a lot after that kind of game, and this 6 did not deliver. Then we have the actual combat and game mechanics themselves. Now, like I was saying at the beginning of the review, this game lacks depth. Depth is one thing that made the Heroes series, especially 2 and especially 3, such good games. You could sit and play a single game for
Sandor.
days, and you
I
wouldn't
want
even
him to
have
know
won.
that I miss him.
You might be
I will tell him
winning,
when I find him.
but there's
I'm
so
in your
much to
debt for
do,
freeing me from
and
the
so
Inquisition.
many
If I
things to
hadn't,
go out and
Sandor would
accomplish,
have
and so many things to
eventually
build, and so many things to find,
I'm doubly grateful.
that
Now
they
go
just,
and
they
find
took
your
so
angel
long,
and give him a
and you
kiss.
got to lose
And
yourself
then
in
so
those things.
both
That's what makes a
remember
game good,
fondly.
when you can lose yourself in it. I love that with a game. When you can lose yourself in a game, that's great. That's exactly what you want in a game. But you didn't really get that with Heroes of Might and Magic 6. It just didn't happen. As I was mentioning, the cities are much more shallow. You don't really get any kind of appearance with your cities beyond this generic, you know, pre-rendered kind of thing. Where before you could see all the structures being built, you could see, you know, your haven town going from a tiny little town center to having a barracks, an archery range, then a jousting center, and it would build up and up and up and up. And they completely removed that. The only time you see anything really change with your city is when you increase the town center size and when you increase the walls. That's it. I'm sorry, that's boring. That took the entire depth out of the actual city management, where you could click on all the different individual buildings and see exactly what they do. And you get to see all the descriptions of what the buildings are, how they were constructed, the units. You could see unit descriptions for everything. Where these guys came from, why are these skeletons fighting for you in the first place? Where'd they come from? Where these vampires get their armor and their life? What are these knights doing here? Where did they come from? There was just this great depth. And as you can see on the screen right now, there are no descriptions for anything. These items should have descriptions. Nothing has descriptions put. It's like they didn't even finish the friggin' game. And not to mention the bugs. The graphical bugs. If you notice through the entirety of these videos, my mouse is blinking. That happens constantly. There's no way to fix that I know of. It was bad. It was bad. There's some game crash issues. There's some incompatibility issues. There are issues where things just simply weren't completed. The game isn't even done, all things considered.
Tell me, you know
The
who
combat
controlled
is
me.
boring.
I was used to kill my father.
Before,
This
especially
must
with
stop.
Heroes of Might and Magic 3, you had some of those really high and mid-tier units that would change the game. In this, the high-tier units don't change the game. They just add a little bit to it. Whereas it took 200 or 300 of some of the advanced basic units to kill a
Forgive
single
my
high tier.
impertinence. This is
It's
for
not
me.
the same way anymore.
Fear is now the
It's
religion of the Holy
completely
Empire.
dumbed
Innocent
down.
souls are being trampled
I
in
would
the
say
name of Elrath.
Heroes of Might and Magic 6 had the Mass Effect 2 tool taken to it. In a bad way, though. Whereas the change from Mass Effect 1 to Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 2 was, was streamlined. A lot of the RPG elements were taken out of it. It was kind of simplified to focus more on the story elements and the action instead of just the RPG elements, and that worked immensely well for it. Mass Effect 1 was a great RPG, but it was heavy. It was really heavy. So getting that little bit of streamlining, that little bit of focusing did wonders for it. Whereas with the Heroes of Might and Magic series, the complexity is what makes the game. It's never really been the story, although the story in a couple of them have been amazing, especially in 3 and Armageddon's Blade. Right now though, no. The game series through 5 and 6 have survived on their complexity and depth. And right now, especially with 6 here, it did not work out at all. The depth is gone. The story is crap. The graphics are unfortunately bad. It's the same thing done very quick and very cheaply. I didn't like it at all. So, to close out the review, if you're a fan of the Heroes of Might and Magic series, don't pay money for this game. Do not, under any circumstances, actually pay money for Heroes of Might and Magic 6. It's not worth it. It isn't worth it at all. Watch someone play it. I'm not going to do my Let's Play of it at all. It's not worth it. I'm not going to be bothered. It's too boring. But watch someone else play it that actually enjoys it, or look up the story yourself. Don't pay money for Heroes of Might and Magic 6. It's not worth the cash. It's not even worth $5, in my opinion. Like, if it's on sale on Steam, don't buy it. It's not worth it. It isn't worth it. That's my review of Heroes of Might and Magic 6 here on youtube.com/The Rob and Dan Show.